Hi guys, welcome back, and this time around I bring you the KBEAR KS10. This is the latest IM from KBEAR, a 1+4 hybrid. I guess you could say following to a certain extent on the footsteps of the KBEAR Robin, which is an older 1+4 that was launched in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, late 2021, early 2022 sometime. And anyway, this is a 1+4, which, and to put things a little bit into context, KBEAR has been a brand that, although it's been around for quite some time, like KZ and TRN and CCA, and other brands that were, let's say, at the beginning of the HIFI revolution. It's a brand that over the last 2 years has had very mixed results with regards to the sound of their IEMs. We already know that KBEAR has their house sound, the same as TRN has, the same as KZ has. But the truth is, KBEAR hasn't exactly been, at its best. One of the few IEMs over this period that I think perhaps is worth mentioning as something which is or was well done, although initially I was maybe as well a little bit hard on it, is the KBEAR Rose Finch, a single DD which followed a very heavy bass emphasis, the potential was there. The driver that is there is very good, and all that really was needed, in my opinion, to make the Rose Finch go from good or let's say acceptable to a very good IM in that particular style of very bass heavy. Following the lines of the Jazeer Clear, or even going along the lines of the Hades from QKZ, the HBB collaboration, is to just change the damper on the nozzle anywhere between 350 and 450, and it automatically opens up the sound just that little extra to make it an absolute beast. So the Rose Finch is definitely one of the few options that KBEAR has launched lately, which is worthwhile. Yes, you could ask me, oh, well, what about the Aurora, and what about the KS2, and what about the KS1 and the K01? Yes, the K01, perhaps another one which can also get the KB01, to be more correct, can also get its deserved merit. An IM that kind of followed more or less on the footsteps of the cadenza from KBEARs, but that was basically it. I mean, like I said, it's a pity because more often than none, the only reason that stops them from really being something good and competitive is just that final touch on the tuning. I mean, I remember the KBEAR Streamer, a beautiful resin shell, and it just kind of was a mess. The Xuanwu, the KBEAR Xuanwu as well, it was almost there, but then it just, the flash wasn't too bad. But honestly, when I kind of look at the launches that KBEAR has had over the last 2 years, honestly, it's the Rose Finch and the Ink 2. I was forgetting about the Ink 2. It's those two IEMs are probably the best out of quite a couple of IEMs that they launched. Anyway, on to the KS10 1+4, priced at about $25 to $30, so very competitive price. You got two options available in terms. I'm not showing you the boxing because it's a very simple box, nothing really special. And So why spend time showing your box, which is kind of very much like on the KZ vibe. But anyway, on to the actual IM itself. It's a nicely built IM. It's a plastic type of shell. It's got a decent faceplate. There's two colors available, this silver one and a black one. A very kind of generic shell. We've seen this shell countless times before, kind of very much like the KZ, the ZS10, that kind of vibe. So it's not a standout shell. It's a very standard shell, but the good thing is that it fits well, so no issues with the fitment. What it does require, in my opinion, for it to then start shining and showing itself as a very solid IM is definitely using these whiteboard tips, these KBEAR whiteboard tips or BGVPs, whichever one you want to use. And then of course put a half decent cable on it. But anyway, as I was saying, this is a OnePlus 4. It uses a CNT dynamic driver, so carbon nanotube dynamic driver, and then four BAs, which they mention as being custom. But the reality is this: I'm sure that there must be something along the lines of the 50060 or 30095, or maybe even perhaps, who knows, I'm not sure now, because I really wasn't able to find any information to that effect. But there might be even some 30019s, or like I said. So it's very, what seems to be very generic BAs being used here for the mids and the highs. What is the sound? The sound is definitely a more, let's say, V-shaped signature of a few years ago, but it's been, in my opinion, really well done. And it's like I said countless times before, I've got nothing wrong with or nothing against any sort of signature, of sound signature, as long as it's been well done, as long as the premise it was well executed. That's fine with me, and that's exactly what's happened here. I mean, they have done a V-shaped signature. I'll show you the graphs in a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes rather. And it's been well done. It's got a nicely executed bass with very little or no bleed into the mids. A relatively early pin again, peaking it close to 2K. But that early peak doesn't really bring anything detrimental to the whole sound. Might make things a little bit more forward sounding, but nothing which is aggressive or anything of the sort. And then the rest of the frequency range before it stops dropping off, again, has been well executed. So the BAs, in my opinion, have been well tuned, in the sense that although they are using the unconventional method of having one BA on the nozzle, which can sometimes render sound a little bit aggressive and so on and so forth, and then 3 are actually in the shell. The reality is this: whatever they've done there, they've done it pretty decently, because what comes across, or at least what I am able to hear and what comes across to my ears with my music, is a very, very, very pleasant sounding IM. I mean, honestly, I have to be truthful here and say that I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't. I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, this is going to be another mess. And mind you, I like KBEAR. I am a fan of KBEAR. I can very much say that I probably own all of the models. Okay, so it's not like I'm talking or saying this and it's not a brand that I appreciate, or no, I really do like the KBEAR stuff, and like the Rose Finch. Like I said, I mean, I even went to the trouble of giving it that little retune, and it's a phenomenal IM if what you want is some serious bass. I mean, it puts the Hades to shame. Period. It puts the Hades to shame. The Hades might sound good with 1 or 2 songs which are bass heavy. This sounds good with basically anything which is bass heavy. It sounds really, really good. Okay, but on to the KS10, which is what we have here. I brought out some IMs which I think will help position the KS10. I've got here the TRN ST5, which is an older model from TRN. I've got here the ST7, which is a newer one. Although the ST5 is a OnePlus 4, there we have 2 DDs, 10 and a 6, plus then 5 BA. So it's not exactly a fair match, in the sense that this is OnePlus 4, this is OnePlus 4, that's a 2 plus 5 or whatever. But anyway, I thought it would still make sense to have it there. And then I've got here, obviously, the Robin, the OnePlus 4 from KBEAR, the launched a couple of years ago. And then 3 offerings here from KZ. I've got here the ZS10 Pro X, 1+4 with the same kind of configuration as well, some BAs on the nozzle and so on and so forth. I've got here the ZS10 Pro 2, again 1+4, but it's got the tuning switches and the newer drivers and so on and so forth. And I've got there the ZAX, which is a 1+7. But I've got the ZAX there because when we talk about this kind of V-shaped signature that's well executed, it is very much one of the better options in this budget bracket. It's an IM that's been around for quite a while. It's been substituted it was then substituted by the ZAS, and then more recently by the ZAR, but the ZAX maintains a certain magic to it, and I thought it would be interesting to have it here because it's, like I said, it's got the style of tuning that they've used here on the KS10. Now, to position things or to kind of give you an idea of what this is like as well, I tried to use some different sources or amp dongles or whatever or amp DAC combos. I've got here my Q15. I used as well my Colorfly M2 and my Snowy Night for my full with the NX7. And I have to say that the KS10 actually doesn't, okay, I preferred it with something which is more along the lines of the Cyrus Logic sound or here the AKM sound. So I like that warmish tonality or musicality that these chips have, matches very nicely here with the KS10. But the truth is, even with something which is ESS based, which usually is a little bit more brighter sounding and emphasizes a little bit more the highs, I was very surprised with how it matched here and with the KS10. The Q style, the M15 for example, or even the HIBI, some of the HIBI offerings using ESS DAC chips. It actually sounded, it still maintained very much that musicality, and was not taken down that realm of becoming now overly bright or overly aggressive or you noticing too much that BA timbre. Okay, now let's then just briefly talk about these IEMs. The the SD7 from TRN. I really didn't, well, I didn't do a review for it, and this is the only time I'm actually going to mention it because I didn't understand what TRN was trying to do here with the SD7. It's not so much that the shell just looks cheap. Okay, they could have done a better job, I guess. But they could have done something really nicely tuned. They could have done something special here, since they are using there's this coaxial driver of a 10 and a 6, and then all those BAs. They could have done something special. And the SD7, costs $30 odd. Maybe you can get it for a little bit cheaper here, in some stores and so on. But it is just a sound which is so bland that you question yourself, why would I buy this when I have significantly better offerings from other brands? And the KS10 is definitely a better IM in every way. Better bass execution, better treble, better mids, more musical, more capable of technically being shining as well. Even the build quality is better, although it's not an amazing build quality, it's still a better build quality. So SD7 really doesn't make any sense, and it's just an inferior IM. Compared here to the SD5, this was it's a little bit more expensive. It already when it was launched, it was something which cost around the $50 price bracket, so a little, twice the money here of twice the money of the KS10. But yes, you do get an all metal shell, and you do get a sound from TRN in this 1+4 configuration, which is an interesting sound. When you look at the graph and you compare it with, for example, the ZS10 Pro X, which was an IM that came out more or less at the same time. I even called it, when I reviewed it, I said that one was the sheriff and the other one was the deputy. It's actually quite interesting because graphically, this graphs, more tamer in the mids, upper mids, and treble than this. And then when you listen to it, no, this is actually more unpolished. It's actually more aggressive. So TRN, with the SD5, they did their homework, and they actually were able to pull off something that was well tuned and well put together and just sounded really, really good. That's the reality. The SD5 sounded really good, and even today I think it's one of the better, let's say, budget hybrids that you can get. Yes, fair enough. When you compare it to the KS10, you can notice a little bit more that timbre of the BA and that little bit of just excessive energy here and there, which can make things become a little bit more fatiguing. But overall, the sound is very satisfying. It's the IEM out of all of these, it's the easiest to drive. It plays really, really loud, and it's an IEM that definitely I would recommend that for you to get the best out of it and avoid those negative aspects that can creep through. Use something with a little bit of a warmer kind of signature. So definitely something with something like the Q15 will help, or something then along the lines of a Cirrus Logic chip as well. I think would be the better match for it. As compared to the KS10, I'm not going to say one is better than the other. They are very similar and different at the same time. They both do what they were designed to do very well. But if I had to just kind of choose one, taking into account as well the price, and which would probably be the most satisfying of the two on a long in the longer run, the KS10 would definitely take the one there. Compared with the KZ, the ZAX, as I said, this is a OnePlus 7, so maybe not exactly the most fair of comparisons, but it just sounds very, very good. I've always thought that the ZX from day one sounded really good, and when you compare the ZX here with the KS10, you see that it does have it's got a little bit of extra energy there past the 8K point, which does help out in maybe creating a sense of technicalities in terms of soundstage and imaging, which are perhaps a little bit over realistic, so maybe a little bit colored as compared to the KS10, which in that aspect it's been very well executed. And I can't really say that one is better or worse. I would say that they are very much matched with each other. Excuse me. Of course, yes, this does cost a little bit more. This you can pick it up for about $40, and that could be a deciding factor, the $40 versus the 25 to 30 of the KS10. But the reality is that this has stood the test of time really well, and compared to the ZAS, which was its successor, way better. Compared to the ZAR, the ZAR has got its things as well, and it's got its valid points. Let's put it that way. Okay, so very much evenly matched. Compared to the Robin, I would say that the Robin, although and I can understand why the Robin ultimately does sound the way it does sound, because it's got a way thicker mid-bass implementation, which does help in making the BAs not come through as emphasized as you would maybe expect. But it also makes the Robin sound overly warm, so I wouldn't say muffled, but it just sounds overly warm, so it just kind of makes it lose its technical capabilities. So between the Robin and the KS10, I would definitely take the KS10. It's a superior IM. That then leaves us here with the two KZ offerings, the ZS10 Pro X and the ZS10 Pro 2. The ZS10 Pro 2 has got the tuning switches, which obviously does allow it to have a certain versatility in terms of the tuning, which you just cannot get here with the KS10. You're stuck with what it is, and that's that. On a purely audiophile approach, the ZS10 Pro 2 is the better IM. It's more correct sounding. Okay. If I now approach it with regards to being fun, engaging, the musicality side of things, very matched, and I would say that the KS10 even at times does surpass the ZS10 Pro 2. It can be a little bit more fun and engaging. Okay, it's not a big difference, but a little bit more. And I'm doing that comparison with the settings here for the ZS10 Pro 2, giving it the maximum emphasis on the bass and everything. I think that the way that the ZS10 Pro 2 has been tuned is it's like I said, it's the more audiophile, the more correct sounding of the tune. But obviously, I think the thing that makes it shine, even though the drivers are of decent quality, is that they've used a really nicely engineered crossover, and that there is definitely making the whole magic happen and extracting the most out of drivers which are budget, but that like I've said many times before, they've been well implemented, and yes, without question, the Pro 2 is a really, really good IEM. I mean, there's no doubt there. Again, we do have a little bit of a price difference here. Again, very much the same situation as the ZAX. If you are looking for the ultimate in terms of musicality and fun, or rather, let me rephrase it. If you're looking for musicality and fun and engagement, this is a very solid choice, the KS10. If you want it to be also equally capable in terms of its technical abilities and so on and so forth, then the Pro 2 does shine and show that it's the more competent of the two IEMs. And then finally, there with the ZS10 Pro X, which will probably be the most sensible one to compare, since it's again not got any of those switches or anything of the sort. Very nicely executed bass, very much like the bass here on the KS10. What I think makes the KS10 stand out over the ZS10 Pro X is the way that the BAs have been implemented here is just that little extra more elegant and that more polished, and that makes the BAs there on the Pro X just that little bit more noticeable. It basically suffers from the same issue as the SD5. So the BAs, you pick up on them more, you notice more that BA timbre. It's not anything which I would say is overly aggressive or overly negative and that kind of spoils things. No, it's not to that point, in my opinion at least. But when you compare them, for example, with something like the Pro 2, or you compare it with the KS10, you can see that over here it's been done just that little extra more polished. In the Pro 2, obviously with the switches and that more elaborate crossover, enabling that polish to come out. And here, I guess, well, I'm sure the crossover here has also been well designed, but the reality is this: whatever they did here, whatever was implemented, they implemented it well, and it sounds good. End of story. I mean, it's as simple as that. The KS10 from KBEAR is definitely an IEM that I would say is a safe bet if you are wanting something cheap in the budget realm of OnePlus 4s. It doesn't break the bank. It's not offensive. It's decently well built. The only thing you got to do is change the tips, like I said, because the stock tips really don't let it shine as much as it can, and that's that. I mean, it's an iron that doesn't require anything from it to be changed to sound good. Contrary to, like I said, the Rose Finch does sound good, but you have to do that little mod to make it really shine. And compared to some of the other available IEMs of 1+4 configuration, or 2+ something, or 1+5, whatever, you understand what I'm saying. Definitely it does score points and say that I'm here, look at me, because I'm worth your attention. Definitely that. Anyway, guys, I'll show you now quickly the graphs and we'll wrap it up. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section here for the KBEAR KS10. And let me just remove here all of these graphs so that we can start here slowly. Alright, so KBEAR KS10 is this graph here. Alright, so there we go. We're talking about a bass gain of around 10 dBs roughly. So, sorry, 73, 84, actually 11 dBs, my apologies. And then about the same thing in terms of pinna gain, about 11, just over 11 dBs of pinna gain. So definitely a V-shaped, no doubt about it. However, it doesn't sound as V-shaped as you would think in the sense that, first of all, the bass doesn't bleed into the mids in a manner which kind of just spoils things, or or muffles things, no. And the fact that you've got this strong pinna gain, so like I said, we're talking about 11, almost 12 dBs of pinna gain, and peaking as well at about 2K. It compensates for maybe that energy that we have back here, in a manner which then balances out things. I lately have started, oops, my apologies. I lately have started kind of considering certain aspects when I look at a graph, which will help me determine kind of to a certain extent how the sound will be. And I usually take the 100 hertz point, okay, and see how that compares then to the mids, and how much the mids are above it or below it. And that balance between these 2 points enables me to get a pretty decent idea if the sound will be muffled or warm or relatively open. And in this particular case, I have a nice amount of energy above that point of 100 hertz, which is roughly 81 dBs. I've got here, roughly about 4 dBs above energy about that point, and it kind of gives me a certain confidence that the sound isn't going to be, as I was saying, overly warm or darkish or muffled. And that's exactly what happens. Yes, it is a warmer, more organic type of sound, but it's clean, it's detailed, and execution of the BAs has been, in my opinion, very well done. In the implementation of the BAs, they sound really, really good. And I mean, we just have to take, for example, the Robin as the first example, and I've normalized it at 500 hertz, and you can see that the Robin, when we consider that same method, okay, of 100 hertz, and we see how it compares then to the mids and upper mids and so on and so forth, it's not that the mids, upper mids and so on are badly done, because you can see that there's a certain certain similarity overall, just at a lower level. Coupled to the fact that yes, you do have a bass which is more prominent and does bleed into the mids in a more significant manner, the overall sound of the Robin is more closed down. It's a overly warm sound that just takes away a lot in terms of the cleanliness, and instruments just sound overly shut down. Certain string instruments. It's not that it's a bad sound per se. No, it's just overly dark. That balance, like I was saying, it's struck in a manner which just makes it sound overly dark. And I think the KS10 is just a better IEM. So that's the Robin out of the way. Let's show you. Let me show you the TRNs and get the TRNs as well out of the way. Okay, so that's KZ, that's KZ, that's the TRN ST5, the Robin I've done, so we can actually just erase it so it doesn't confuse. And where's the ST7? Where's the ST7? KS10, ST5, things like, I didn't put it here, there we go, ST7. All right, so let's now normalize it at 500 hertz, and there we go. Okay, the ST7. How can I explain this? You look at the graph and you see, okay, the bass seems pretty similar, doesn't bleed into the mids as well, nothing special. A relatively strong pinna gain, peaks at before 2K. It doesn't have what you would think as, or would you consider aspects that the sound wouldn't be a half decent sound. And it's not a bad sound if you're just looking for something that's plain. But you just have to listen to one or two songs on the ST7 and listen to the KS10, and you see that the KS10 is a far superior IEM. The way that the mids, the upper mids and treble just come across it's more natural, it's more realistic. They just come across in a manner which is much better. And I think that ST7 from TRN has been another IEM that TRN has launched that kind of just fell short. I mean, you have the Conch and you have the Medusa, which I'll be doing the review for the Medusa next. And you listen to those two IEMs and you question yourself, how is it possible that a brand that can make two so amazing IEMs, Conch and Medusa, at the same time then just launch this, especially when they've had other IEMs in the past which were very decent. But anyway, that's the ST7 there. Okay, so let's just erase it. TRN ST5. Bass is very similar, not only in terms of the quality, but of the way that it's been done. And then, again, you see a lot of similarities here in the graph. And you would think, oh, okay, the ST5 is darker sounding because of, like I just mentioned before, if I consider here that 100 hertz point, and I see where it compares here then to the mids, yes, it does give me the same vibes as the KS10 in the sense that the sound is going to be pretty balanced. But when you do listen then to one and the other, maybe it's down to the fact that it's an easy IEM to drive. You do notice that the ST5 plays significantly louder and it's got way more energy in the mids, upper mids, and treble than the KS10 has. It's very easy to pick that up. And the problem here is, if in the KS10, maybe some might argue, oh, but you can notice the BA timbre, which honestly I didn't think you could notice it when yes, there is a little bit of BA timbre, but let's consider the price and take the price. For the price, it's been really well done. On the ST5, it is noticeable. That metallicness of the BAs is noticeable, especially in this area of 3, 4, 5. You pick up on it, and it's like I said, if you choose your source, what is powering your ST5 properly, you will mitigate that, and then it does come across, in a very nice, with a nice tonality, a nice timbre, which is one of the aspects of the KS10 ultimately has. It's a very nice timbre and a very nice tonality. While on the ST5, if you're not careful, that timbre and that tonality will sound just a little bit overly metallic. Let's put it that way. Okay, so that's the ST5. Let's also erase the ST5, get it out of the way. Let's now show ST7. We can take it away as well. Let's show the ZAX. Okay, that's the ZAX. Again, very much the same sort of bass, and you can see straight away by the mids, upper mids, and treble that it's very similar to the KS10. It's just got a little bit extra more details up top, which will now allow the ZAX to just have a little bit more of a sound stage, a little bit more better executed imaging, or capability of imaging a little bit better. You can argue, oh, but maybe it's not as realistic, maybe it's a little bit excessive. Not really. I can make an argument confirming that with regards to one or two songs, but overall, the reality is this: the ZAX and the KS10 are more similar, okay, in their sound than, for example, the ZS10 Pro X is, okay, to the KS10. And if I have to choose between the ZAX and the ZS10 Pro X, I would probably choose the ZAX. Okay, I would probably choose. It just is a nicer sounding IM for me. Okay, so that's the ZAX out of the way, and now let's compare it here with the Pro X, with the Pro 2. So the Pro X is this one here, number 23. Again, the bass is almost identical. Let me just put this here in red. The bass is almost identical, or if you could have considered it identical to the KS10, and a lot of the mids and upper mids and treble as well, very similar. The interesting thing here is that although you have this forwardness in the KS10 at around 2K, which doesn't exist as much, or doesn't exist, period, in the Pro X, the Pro X just sounds a little bit more unpolished. When you push the volume a little bit more, it just loses its composure a little bit sooner and becomes a little bit more, not aggressive, but hard. something which the KS10 somehow is able to mitigate and just comes across in a nicer manner. So I would say that the KS10 is basically based on that a better IEM. Okay, and then the Pro 2 finally, which is over here. There we go, number 24. The Pro 2, it has, like I mentioned, that crossover network, which helps basically give us this tuning where we have a peak 3K, so it's a more audiophile, more correct sounding IM, unquestionably. The bass, although here you'd think that they're very similar, the bass is a little bit leaner. It's a cleaner bass, yes, I will give it that. It's a cleaner bass than the bass on the KS10, but it's a little bit leaner than the KS10. So it's as I said earlier, if you want something which is more audiophile correct, then I would say that definitely the Pro 2 would be the better choice. If you want something on the other hand which is a little bit more fun, a little bit more engaging, a little bit more organic, a little bit more old school, you know, and you're not going to be messing around with switches and so on and so forth, then the KS10 is definitely the one to go for. And that's that, guys. I mean, you know, as I said already before, and I'll just repeat it now once again, I guess, KS10, very, very solid IM from KBEAR, very solid. For the price, there's very little that I can point as a negative aspect. It's, you know, as I mentioned again, accessories are what they are for the price. You can't expect miracles, but the build is decent. It's been well tuned, and it just sounds really nice. It just truly sounds really nice, and it's actually interesting because it kind of happens the same thing as you have with the ZS10 Pro 2 and the ZS10 Pro 2, where you have two very competent IEMs, although one is a 1+1 and the one is a 1+4. You have the same situation happening here with the KS10 and the Robin. You know, they are both very competent sounding IEMs, but this compared to the Robin, and the Robin is still available, this compared to the Robin, it's a better IM. It's just a really nicely tuned IM. Anyway, guys, if there's any questions or anything that I can help clarify further, please let me know. And that's it. I'll see you in the next one. You take care now. Bye-bye.